what does DevOps do? DevOps allows you to automate stuff. And if you do not follow the DevOps way, things will get very difficult. Okay, I can show you how. So first of all, if you can see my screen, I'm not using any DevOps tools here, right? I have one instance running. I want to launch an instance. What would I do? I will go to the instances. Yeah, launching instances is just like, launching a virtual machine here. So let's say I call it as my web server. This is fine. This is fine. I have to also think about if I want to log in into this instance, I need to have an SSH key, which will allow me to remotely log in into this machine. So I will just say that web server. Okay, create a key pair. This will be downloaded as well. I will like to download it into a different directory where most of my SSH keys are kept. I will save it as web server. That's fine. .temp. Okay, the file has been saved. Now here are some network settings. I will only allow SSH traffic from my IP. Okay, for now, and that should be good enough. Let me think about storage. Okay, storage by default 8 GB of hard disk is fine for me. So let me launch this instance. So the instance would be launched and I should be able to log in into this instance. I have the SSH key. I just need to do some stuff there. If I try to connect to this instance, okay, it will tell me like what all I need to. First of all, I need to change the file permissions of the file that I've downloaded and then type this command sh and this I will do it from my terminal. So now again, how many of you know about what is terminal? Like I have opened the terminal here, right? So how many of you are aware about terminal? And terminal is the interface which allows you to talk to the OS using commands rather than you clicking on through mouse somewhere and there are buttons, right? That you call it as graphical user interface. This is CLI, command line interface. Okay, so a terminal here is a command line interface to execute scripts and commands. And one of the commands that we want to execute is to remote login into the virtual machine. Okay, I have this terminal then. So let me do one thing. Let me go into the downloads folder. Now, here are some commands I'm typing. You don't need to focus on it. You just need to understand that I'm trying to fetch the web server.pem file and I will move this web server pem file to a proper location, okay, which is .sh folder where most of my other PEM files are there. So would I like to override? I think there's existing web server.pem file existing. I would like to override, yes. And let me go to the dot listen. What you would see here is I have so many PEM files, right? So one of which I'm mostly interested here is this one, web server dot this one here. So let me see first what is the file permission on this file pem. It is like read write and I can read write, others can also read it, and anyone who belongs to the staff group in this machine can read it, and everyone else who is except the staff group, they can also read it. Like it's a you can say like if you don't understand file permissions, but in just if I want to tell you is like this file is readable by everyone who logs on to my machine. So that is something which is not recommended. You should not have your like it's like a password. This file is like a password to enter inside the virtual machines that we have created. Now this would mean is that everyone who has access to your machine will have access to your virtual machine as well. If anyone has access of my Mac machine, this my physical machine, they will also have the access to the virtual machines that I have launched on AWS, which I would not want it. Okay, which is not recommended as well. You will want only you on your from your machine to be able to access the instance, and that is where even the AWS is suggesting you that hey, please ensure that your key is not publicly viewable inside your machine. So I will run this command. And now if I run the ls-l, so now you see only read permission and that read is only for me and no one else get any other permissions. Okay, so we'll get into the file permissions later. If for now I had to run this command to make sure that only I get to read the file, and then if I try to sh, I can do it this way. And let's see if whether I'm able to sh or it does not work. So it's not working, right? I'm not able to sh. Okay, understand one thing. While doing the DevOps work or any such work, right? Technical work, you need to narrow down all possible errors. So first of all, as Madhu said, that the PEM file could be faulty, right? The SHQ file. But before that, going towards the SH, because when I tried to SH, I did not get any error explicitly saying that, hey, your PEM file is wrong, right? So first of all, what I would like to know is like whether my machine is able to communicate to this remote machine or not on the network point of view. What I need to understand is when you try to SSH into an instance, there is a port which gets opened. There's a like your instances have multiple ports, okay, starting from 0 to 65,000 something. But one of the port which gets opened is port 22 for SSH. So first I need to ensure that can I connect to this instance on port 22 or not. Like I don't want to enter inside the machine. It's just that I want to see that from network point of view, is the machine responding on port 22 or not? Whether it allows me to log in or not, that is for later. So there's a tool called netcat. So here I have called NC, but at many places you will see it as netcat. And any tool that you want to out in terminal, then like using terminal, then you just need to say man NC and it will show you the manuals for it. Like, okay, what is arbitrary TCP and UDP connections and listens. Okay. So like, description, netcat utility is used for just about anything under the sun involving TCP or UDP. So yeah, it can open TCP connections and UDP will listen to arbitrary. So basically it is a good troubleshooting tool for network related stuff. So if I want to check whether I'm able to SSH into this instance or not, I would first see whether the port 22 is open from my machine or not. Like, can I send some packets or some data packets to this instance on port 22 or not? So first I will do this. Okay, get this thing and then say port 22. See, I don't get any response, right? I'm not getting any responses. I know I'm not getting any responses because I've seen instances where I would have gotten some responses, right? Like, okay, port 22 connection succeeded. And what I can do here is now you know that from network side of things itself, there is some issue from the network point of side. So what I need to make sure is before even going and figuring out whether the SSH key is okay or not, I need to understand that whether the networking things are set up straight or not, right? So if you see here, port 22 here is open from this source, right? This is my public IP, I believe. And if I want to find my public IP, I can do that as well. I can type a command to check my public IP. Okay. And if I say it -4, it will see 100. So this is my public IP. Okay. So I should be able from security group standpoint of it's fine. Okay. So there could be something else as well. But you can understand that what I'm showing you is like I'm trying to figure out the errors that could have happened. So I am just trying to make sure that whether this IP is fine or not. Now, if I want to make sure whether I want to not deal with whether it is open for my IP or not, and I don't want to deal with this issue, what I can do is I can just for the debugging purposes. Okay, I'm telling you this. Just for the debugging purposes, what I can do here is I can just go and edit the inbound rules. And rather than saying that, hey, just only allow port 22 from my IP, I can say allow from anywhere for now, anywhere. Okay. I'm just saying that, okay, just for the debugging purposes, I'm allowing it from anywhere. Now I try to run the NC-D, whether it works or not, right? It does not work. It means there's something more than that. It's not just about the security groups now. It is something more than that. So in the instances, if this web server is running, let me show you the networking. So you have this public IP here and the subnet ID. And now subnet, what is subnet? It is a subnetwork. These things can basically matter when you are trying to launch an instance. So if you see here, this subnet, right? I need to see the route table for it. So this has the access from the internet gateway. So this should have worked. Like what I can see is that it should have worked, but it's not working fine right now. So what should I do? What do you people think? Like, is it the web server PEM file still, or is it like the network related stuff? Because from network point of view, like, yeah, how much I had to see from the network standpoint, it looks like it should doable, right? Like from network, everything is allowed, right? This is also allowed. So it should work, but it's not working. What could be the issue? It could be the SSH key, but we are not able to narrow it down. It's not SSH key for sure. It's definitely that the port 22 from my machine, I'm not able to access it. Otherwise, the SSH key, like I should get some correction succeeded here, but I'm not getting it. So this means one thing is that if you want to launch your instance and you don't want to get into these mess up, first of all, what I did wrong was I wanted to launch the EC2 instance and I went here. I said launch instances. I just went with whatever details we had here in this. I did not edit the VPC. I did not edit the subnet. I just went with whatever I had here. But understand, this VPC or subnet can belong to some project which would have its own configuration. So it's always better to have the full control over your project, like all the networking tools, so that you don't get into these issues. So now you would say like that means that to create an EC2 instance, I would also have to create the VPC. I will also have to create subnet and so many things. It's not very easy now. Just go and launch a EC2 instance, then you are done. So that is where you have these DevOps tools which will automate the stuff for you rather than you going manually and doing everything. And it can also mean that if you do things manually, you are bound to do mistake, even though you will know what the steps are, but then there could be a human error as well. And that is where I do have some projects which are Terraform. A Terraform is a tool which will automate this creation of T2 instances and creation of SSH key, and also putting into my machine, storing it somewhere, and also making sure the file permissions are fine, right? Everything would be done without me interacting with this AWS console. Okay. So let me show you that. So this is basically a very simple project. It creates EC2 instances with Nginx and Python installed, and also generates key to access the instance. What I need to do here is, a repository into my machine. For that, we have this command, but I already have it in my machine, so I can always run it from my machine. So let me go to that particular, okay. And what I need to do is I just need to go here and I need to so understand Terragrant. If you have come across Terraform, Terraform is very simple. Okay, you have a wrapper over Terraform which is called Terragrant. So I'm using that here. So first of all, this is failing because I have not set up the AWS profile. Now it should work. Understand, it is showing me that it is going to create 21 resources. These 21 resources, if I had to do it manually from my end, so if I want to create all these resources, I'll just run tag and apply. And it will do everything for me because I have provided those configurations in a file. So I've written all those configurations in a file. So I say yes, and then it will start creating. See, it is creating these resources, right? It is creating some private key, some key pair. And when it is going to create the key pair, you will see it will also basically save that file. It is actually saving that this local sensitive file you see here. It is going to save this file into my machine, and then it will also save the file with the correct file permissions as well. I don't have to manually run the commands on the CLI, right? Everything. I didn't had to go to the AWS console. I didn't had to run the commands on AWS CLI as well. Everything is automated. So this is what I want to demo it. That if you do things manually, how much cognitive overload you have, how much focus you have to put in to make sure that all the configurations are right and you don't do a human error or mistake. And but if you manage your infrastructure, your AWS services through this tool, I'm just talking one of the tool here. There are many tools, but I'm just trying to show you that even launching a simple EC2 machines can become error prone if you don't use DevOps tools. So most of the things have been created. It is just going to create a load balancer. And once we have the load balancer, we can basically, just see a Hello Nginx web page. And understand, I didn't have to even SSH into the remote machine till now to basically install the Nginx into that machine and run that Nginx service, right? Otherwise, if you see what I had been doing earlier, I would have gone to AWS console, launched the instance, SSH into the instance, get some Nginx package, and then basically start the Nginx service. And this is pretty advanced. I would say, like, definitely it is just bringing up the EC2 instance, but it is also making sure it has some auto scaling policies on top of it. So it's like a kind of enterprise ready project. If somebody says that, hey, I want to have some auto scaling, like if the instance CPU memory is shooting up to 90%, I want a new instance to be launched, like have multiple copies of it so that it can handle the load. So yeah, that is also being taken care of here. So meanwhile, I will show you that it might have created all the stuff in the instances. If I go, you have 4 instances. You will see 2 the unnamed ones, right? We go to the VPCs first. I just want to check whether all the instances. So in the US East one, so it says that you have the Nginx created. You can access it here. If I try to access it, let's see whether I have the Nginx site. Yeah, welcome to us. If you see here, I also altered, like normally the Nginx web page would come welcome to Nginx, right? But I have also configured the web page to actually talk about, like, have a enterprise name or company name. Okay. So all these things were done using that Terragrant project or Terraform project, you can say. Meanwhile, if I want to know about all the details, like what instance name would have been created or what would be the name of the VPC, I can always check it from this Like I have the code for this, right? The configuration for this. Let me open it into a code editor and show you. So all these stuff is written here, and you can see that if I want to just get the VPC name, right? So the VPC name would be main. Okay, so you can see that in the VPCs, if I go, I have this main VPC here. And what would be the instances name would be there? Let me show you that as well. So when I have created the instances, I have not created the instances normally. I have created using the auto scaling group. Okay. So what does auto scaling group means? Like if you want, you can say that if the CPU utilization goes more than 50%, please increase one more instance. Okay. So even those things are can be catered in the auto scaling group. If you see what would be the name prefix, the name prefix would be Nginx. And okay, I think the instances are not getting the name, but you would see the auto scaling group. Let me show you that as well. So in EC2 instance, you have something called auto scaling group. Inside this, you will have something called Nginx, which I created, and will tell you that how many instances are there for it. So it says these are the 2 instances which are in service. And I did not just launch one instance. I launched 2 instances so that having a high availability, right? So in case where one of the instance goes down due to high memory, high CPU or something like that, you have your welcome to 𝗪𝗪𝗃 working fine all the time, 24/7. So this is what I wanted to demo. First of all, you have to basically understand that how to do things manually. So that will be taught, but understand that every time I teach something like, okay, this is how you do manually, but later I will definitely, make sure that you understand how to automate that step and ease out your process. So you remove the manual errors. Okay. And just like how I said, like whenever you are done with the work, you should read everything. So whatever I created in front of you right now, if I want to delete those things, I just need to run this command. I don't have to do anything manually. Okay. Anyone who has worked with AWS, they will know like once you have created n number of resources to get your work done, and if you need to delete it, you have to go n number of places, n number of consoles in AWS, and then delete everything. And many times it happens that some of the things are kept dangling, okay, as well. But using Terraform, you are ensured that, okay, whatever you created using a configuration file, you can always destroy and delete everything just by running a command.